Truth seekers, welcome back. Your guides are here from the Great Awakening Report, and we are absolutely fired up today.
Yeah, really excited for this one.
We're diving deep into the questions you've been sending our way, the ones that really, get to the heart of what's happening.
It's always great to hear what's on your minds. These questions show a real uh, deep desire to understand the big shifts.
Totally. People want to look past the headlines, connect the dots.
hmm
So this deep dive, it's all about tackling those pressing questions, the ones challenging the old stories, pushing us to think more critically.
Right, and use discernment.
Exactly. We're hitting on trust, the science behind awakening itself, the tech edge, global movements, and really how to stay centered in all this.
The goal, as always, is bringing knowledge, perspective, maybe some solutions for navigating these times.
Spot on. Equipping you with insights, fresh angles, maybe sparking some aha moments. Today, we're tackling 5 key questions from you, our subscribers. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, first up, a big one we're hearing a lot. We're seeing institutions crumble. What does this mean for our personal sovereignty? Powerful stuff. And yeah, we are seeing this accelerating decline in trust, aren't we?
We really are. And it's important to see how things are connected. You mentioned the sources.
Yeah.
Divisions in the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
Florida declaring an emergency over vaccine issues.
Right.
These aren't just isolated events. They're symptoms. Symptoms of a bigger loss of faith in systems we thought were built for justice, for health, for our basic freedom.
It's like we were raised with this almost blind trust, wasn't it? Government agencies, the medical field, media, courts.
Yeah, a kind of default trust.
But the awakening, as we call it, is really pulling back the curtain. You see the contradictions, the cover-ups. The consequences are just becoming too visible to ignore.
And that ties directly into the sovereignty part of the question.
Yeah.
Because sovereignty itself is evolving.
How so?
It's moving beyond just, lines on a map or political rights. It's becoming deeply personal,
Yeah.
energetic, even spiritual. As these external pillars wobble, the responsibility it boomerangs back to the individual. We're being called to be the final judge of our own truth, that erosion of external authority. It demands we step up to self-governance.
Self-governance. Okay, practically speaking, what does that look like day to day?
Well, it means really honing your critical thinking. Not just taking things at face value, but digging deeper, looking at different perspectives, forming your own view.
Right. Not outsourcing your thinking.
Exactly. And it means building emotional resilience. So you're not just tossed around by every headline. Plus, developing that spiritual clarity, your inner knowing, and maintaining what you could call vibrational integrity.
Vibrational integrity.
Yeah, basically consciously aligning your energy, your thoughts, your feelings. It's about deliberately choosing not to hand over your authority to institutions that, frankly, haven't earned that trust anymore.
So it's more than just seeing the problems.
Oh, much more. The core of the Great Awakening isn't just exposure, it's empowerment. Sovereignty in this new reality means taking back your mind, your health, your energy, your soul, taking it back from forces that might try to suppress it.
That's a huge shift.
It is. It means standing in your own power, your own truth, no matter how shaky things seem outside.
So that inner sovereignty, it becomes your compass, your protection, your power source when the outer world feels chaotic.
Precisely. That unwavering inner strength.
Okay, fascinating. Let's move to question 2. Is there scientific evidence backing up spiritual awakening and consciousness expansion? This is where things get really interesting, isn't it? Science and spirituality finding common ground.
They really are converging. For so long, these seemed like, polar opposites. But now, modern research, quantum physics, neuroscience, epigenetics, it's starting to validate truths that ancient wisdom knew all along.
Like what specifically?
Well, that reality is more than just physical stuff. That we have this incredible inner potential for growth, for expanded awareness. It's a huge shift, realizing consciousness might actually be primary, not just a byproduct of matter.
Can you give an example of this validation?
Sure. Think about Jeff Lieberman's TED Talk. He talks about the mind being like a thought-generating machine, right? Constantly filtering reality.
I remember that.
And he asks, what happens if we quiet that machine? The answer, which echoes so many spiritual teachings, is we tap into something deeper, a unified consciousness. That feeling of separation starts to dissolve.
Quieting the noise to hear the signal.
Exactly. Or look at Dr. Joe Dispenza's work on neuroplasticity.
The brain changing itself.
Right. And biochemistry. He shows how our thoughts aren't just abstract. They trigger real chemical reactions in our bodies. Elevated thoughts release beneficial chemicals. Negative thoughts flood us with stress hormones.
And over time,
Over time, those patterns literally rewire your brain. They shape how you experience reality. It means we can consciously direct our own evolution, biologically speaking.
wow, our thoughts actually shaping our biology. That's
It-
profound.
It is. And it doesn't stop there. We're learning about external forces too, like cosmic ones.
Okay.
Solar activity, geomagnetic storms.
How do they fit in?
Well, think about solar flares. Bursts of energy from the sun. They disrupt Earth's electromagnetic field, since our bodies are bioelectrical systems.
They can affect us.
Potentially, yes. Our brain waves, mood, sleep, even intuition. Some spiritual views see increased solar activity as like an activation key for collective awakening, pushing us forward.
So science is giving us a new language almost for these metaphysical ideas, making it accessible for people who need that evidence.
Exactly. It's bridging the gap, showing that consciousness is key. Awakening isn't just some nice idea. It's biological, it's spiritual, it's real.
And by managing our thoughts, our breath, our vibration,
We step into our power as conscious creators. We start shaping our reality more intentionally.
incredible stuff. Okay, let's shift gears to question 3, something causing a lot of concern. What are the real dangers of mRNA shots and implantable nanotech?
Yeah, this is a sensitive one. The information we're looking at suggests the concerns go, well, quite a bit beyond the rare side effects narrative you might hear.
How so?
The core concern revolves around the potential for a fundamental re-engineering of the human body, turning it from a natural biological organism into something potentially programmable, trackable, an interface.
That sounds intense. Programmable.
It points towards the integration of nanotechnology, synthetic biology, AI, right into us. Some reports mention billions of electromagnetic nanoparticles, like graphene oxide, found in people who received mRNA shots.
Graphene oxide, what's the significance of that?
The concern is that these particles aren't passive.
Yeah.
They're potentially designed to interact with frequencies, with external signals, essentially turning the body into a kind of living antenna.
A living antenna. And how does this connect to things like brain-computer interfaces? We hear about companies like Apple and Synchron working on those.
It connects directly. It's part of this push towards what some call total biodigital convergence, linking biology with digital tech.
Okay, but isn't this marketed as helpful? Medical breakthroughs.
Often, yes. The potential benefits are highlighted. But the underlying worry, the sort of sinister possibility, is about losing cognitive liberty, losing intimate privacy, the potential merging of human consciousness with AI.
Losing ourselves, essentially.
That's the fear. If your thoughts, your emotions, your very neurological patterns can be monitored or even influenced digitally, where does you end and the machine begin? It hits right at our spiritual sovereignty.
So it's not just physical health, it's deeper.
Much deeper. Some see it as a battle for the soul. If the body becomes a sensor network and the mind becomes programmable, what happens to our connection to higher consciousness, to intuition, to our purpose? Does it get severed?
Is the danger in the tech itself or how it's used?
That's a key distinction. The concern isn't necessarily technology per se. It's allowing technology to override our human essence. Free will, emotional depth, spiritual connection. Is this genuine evolution, or is it control wrapped up in the language of convenience and progress?
A critical question to ask.
Absolutely. The counter-narrative emphasizes that true power lies in reclaiming our natural, spiritual, and energetic potential. Consciously, sovereignly, not becoming part machine.
Food for thought, definitely. All right, question 4. What's the link between mass migration, geopolitical control, and cultural erasure? This is complex territory.
It is. And again, there are perspectives that challenge the mainstream narratives. While migration is often presented through a humanitarian lens.
Which is important, of course.
Absolutely. But some analyses, referencing things like the Soros blueprint or statements by figures like Viktor Orban, suggest there's a strategic agenda underneath, using mass migration as a tool.
A tool for what?
For geopolitical manipulation. For destabilizing cultures. The argument is that the real goal might be control, not necessarily compassion or solving root problems.
How would that work?
The idea is that moving millions across borders, often without robust integration, intentionally creates social volatility. It can fracture communities, dilute established cultures, strain economies, create dependencies.
Leading to division.
Exactly, a sort of divide and conquer situation that potentially benefits global power structures. The perspective is that flooding Western nations with populations, often without thorough vetting, serves a multi-pronged agenda,
Such as?
undermining national sovereignty, eroding traditional values and identities,
Yeah.
shifting voting demographics, creating a kind of underclass that's more dependent on and manipulable by globalist institutions.
That's a stark contrast to, say, the message Trump gave in Riyadh, wasn't it? About national pride, local economies, preserving sovereign values.
It is a contrast. That speech championed national self-determination, rejecting foreign interventionism, praising regional strength. It's presented as part of a pushback against this perceived engineered globalism and forced cultural blending.
So this perspective encourages us to ask deeper questions.
Right. Why is cultural heritage seemingly being deconstructed? Who benefits if national identity and spiritual roots weaken? Why are local voices sometimes silenced in these discussions?
The argument being that it's part of a larger plan for a homogenized, borderless, centrally controlled system.
That's the essence of the viewpoint, yes. Seeing through that potential illusion is presented as the first step, followed by actively reclaiming cultures, honoring roots, and defending the sovereign right to self-determination, identity, and integrity.
A very different frame for understanding these movements. Okay, our final question today, number 5. How can we protect ourselves from fear, manipulation, and maybe even energetic attacks in this environment? Feels crucial after everything else.
It really does. And the core understanding here is that true protection starts inside. Inner mastery, not just building external walls.
Why internal?
Because in a reality soaked in disinformation, psychological operations, frequency tech, our consciousness is our best shield. It begins with awareness. With consciously choosing our own vibration, we're not passive victims here.
We're energetic participants.
Exactly. And fear. That's identified as the primary weapon of manipulation. It lowers our vibration, weakens our immune system, makes us more suggestible.
Like Dr. Dispenza's work, again, thoughts creating chemistry.
Precisely. Fear creates a chemistry of vulnerability. The real battlefield is the mind, because the mind creates the energetic field our body lives in.
So what are the practical tools for this inner protection?
Daily spiritual hygiene is key. Things like transformational breathing techniques, practices for heart coherence, meditation. These aren't just nice to have.
They actively shift our state.
Yes, they shift us into higher states of awareness. Clarity returns. Parasitic energies. Fear-based programming. They just lose their grip. Forgiveness is also huge. Clearing out old emotional baggage, neutralizing attachments.
And being mindful of what we let in.
Absolutely critical. Observing your thoughts without getting swept away by them. Recognizing fear-based programming without identifying with it. And consciously curating what you consume. Maybe turning off the mainstream fire hose.
Because what we feed grows.
What we allow into our field, we empower. In this age of, let's call it subtle warfare, your frequency is your firewall.
So holding on to love, sovereignty, truth, that makes you less vulnerable.
It makes you fundamentally resilient. Impervious in a way. Protection isn't about hiding. It's about standing fully present in your own light. Aware of the forces, yes, but rooted firmly in your higher self.
Stay conscious, stay sovereign, stay elevated.
That's the essence of it.
Wow. This has been incredibly illuminating. Covering these 5 questions, you really see a pattern emerging, don't you?
Definitely. A striking pattern. It's a collective awakening happening on so many levels at once. Political, medical, cultural, spiritual, energetic.
Yeah, each question peeled back another layer, revealing these deeper truths, reshaping how we see reality.
We saw the trust collapse leading to inner sovereignty.
Science confirming spiritual truths.
The potential dangers of biodigital merging.
The hidden agendas possibly behind migration.
And the absolute power of our own vibration for protection.
It really hammers home that we're not just watching this unfold. We are active participants in this massive global transformation.
The Great Awakening, ultimately, it's a call to remember who we truly are, reclaim that sovereignty we talked about, and consciously raise our frequency to become co-creators.
It's not an easy path being a truth seeker. It definitely challenges you.
No doubt. But that awareness, that understanding, it's empowering. It gives us the ability to help shape a reality beyond the old limits.
So maybe the final thought is this. That choice to see, to question, to awaken, to step fully into your sovereignty, it's a choice we make every single day.
Every day, what will you choose?